So remember, we start by using any straight edge. It doesn't have to be a ruler. We're gonna make a rectangle just so we can have a barrier, so we don't make our shapes, too big. All our letters should be the same size. Then I'm gonna make bubble letters. I'm keeping the erase lines in there for now just so you can see my process because I don't have a template. I just kind of draw and erase until I get the bubble letters that I like. So remember, just draw lightly so that you can erase easy. So I make my bubble letters just using my free hand. There's no right or wrong way to do that. You can have your own style, just as long as all of your letters are the same height, whether they're uppercase or lowercase, as long as they're the same height. I just kind of made the lines even so I can see where my letters stop, and I erased all those little lines in between. Add that dot at the top, just so at the top and the center of my letter. And then I'm going to use my straight edge to connect all of my points, the points that you see that I circled, to that dot. So I circled all those little points so you can see what I'm using to reference and where I want to connect that dot to. So as you make a whole bunch of lines, it starts to get confusing. So remember, if one line is overlapping another and you know it belongs to, a certain letter, you can erase the lines that you know are going to be erased later. And just think about, if you were to color this, if you were to color in those shapes and the lines in the background, what lines would disappear? That's what helps me to erase. And again, you write light and then just take your time because, this process is going to take a lot of drawing and erasing until you figure it out. So then I make a line above the letter just to kind of square it off, erase that line at the dot, at the top. I'm going to go ahead and Sharpie so that way I can see my letter easily. It'll help me to understand, where my letter is, what needs to be erased, and what I need to work on. So after I do that, I can go back, erase extra lines, shape it off better. I make the lines in the back to close off the back of the letter. If the top of the letter is curved, like that A or that R, then the lines in the back, I'm going to curve that too. Each line should be parallel. So the top of my R should be parallel to that back of the R. That's three-dimensional. Go ahead and Sharpie all of that just so you can see what you've done, and you can erase all those extra lines because all those extra lines can be a little confusing. So now I'm going to go in with my colors. Again, I like to use the bright colors in the front and maybe darker colors in the back. So I decided to go with yellow. You can do any color you like. You could add designs to it, however you like. I always say use the colored pencils or crayons instead of marker, but I tried to use the marker instead this time just to kind of experiment. I still prefer using crayons or colored pencils. You can get like a cleaner, nicer line. That marker can sometimes, if you use it too much to fill in a space, it'll over wet that paper and it could cause holes. So be careful, experiment how you like, but just, again, I still would recommend using a crayon or a colored pencil instead, just to save your resources, and it just works better to fill in these larger spaces with that. But again, be creative, add designs, add colors. There's no right or wrong way to do it. If you find yourself getting frustrated, just go back, look at it, take a break, do some erasing if you need to.